My fiancé demanded I put everything in her name before the wedding. I smiled and agreed. Then I spent our $50,000 wedding fund on the most spectacular going-away party of my life. When her lawyer showed up, there was nothing left to claim but the truth she'd been hiding all along. For 3 years, I believed Rachel was the love of my life. We met at a charity gala where she volunteered, her emerald dress catching the light as she laughed at my terrible jokes about corporate sponsorship. She was elegant, compassionate, and seemed genuinely interested in my work as a software architect. Our relationship felt like destiny, the kind of connection people write songs about. I proposed on the anniversary of our first date, on the same rooftop where we'd shared our first kiss. The ring cost me 3 months' salary, but her tears of joy made every penny worth it. We started planning immediately. A spring wedding, 200 guests, a reception at the historic Belmont estate. My parents adored her. My friends envied me. Everything seemed absolutely perfect. But perfection, I would learn, is often just a carefully constructed facade. The first crack appeared 6 months before the wedding date. Rachel suggested, almost casually over breakfast, that we should combine our assets for tax purposes. It made sense on the surface, we were getting married after all. But something in her tone made me pause. When I suggested we discuss it with a financial advisor, her smile tightened imperceptibly. Still, I dismissed my concerns. Love requires trust, doesn't it? The requests became more frequent. She wanted access to my investment accounts, to help manage them. She proposed I add her name to my condo's title as a symbol of our commitment. Each suggestion came wrapped in reasonable explanations, delivered with her characteristic charm. And each time I felt a small knot of unease growing in my stomach. But I loved her. I trusted her. And I wanted to believe that my doubts were just cold feet, the natural anxiety of a man about to make the biggest commitment of his life. 2 months before the wedding, everything changed. We were reviewing the final guest list when Rachel set down her wine glass with unusual deliberation. "Michael," she said, her voice suddenly lacking its usual warmth. "We need to talk about something important." The room seemed to chill despite the fireplace crackling nearby. She pulled out a folder, prepared, organized, official-looking. Inside were property transfer documents, account authorization forms, and a prenuptial agreement that was anything but standard. "I need you to sign these before the wedding," she stated, no longer asking. "Everything needs to be in both our names. It's only fair, considering we're building a life together." I read through the papers, my legal training from business school suddenly very relevant. These weren't partnership documents, they were transfer documents. Everything I'd worked for over the past decade would become jointly owned, but with her listed as the primary account holder. My condo, my investment portfolio, even my company stock options. The prenup, ironically, protected her assets while giving her access to mine. "This seems very one-sided," I said carefully, trying to keep my voice neutral. Her face transformed. The mask of warmth completely dropped. "Are you saying you don't trust me? After 3 years?" Her voice rose with calculated indignation. "Maybe we should postpone the wedding until you're ready to actually commit to this marriage." It was an ultimatum disguised as hurt feelings, and we both knew it. I spent that night unable to sleep, staring at the ceiling while Rachel slept peacefully beside me. Something was terribly wrong, but I couldn't yet see the full picture. The woman I loved, or thought I loved, was essentially demanding control of my entire financial life. Why? What was I missing? And more importantly, what should I do about it? I didn't sign the papers. Instead, I told Rachel I needed time to review everything with my attorney, which was true. What I didn't tell her was that I'd also hired a private investigator. If she was offended by my lack of trust, then perhaps she'd understand why I needed to verify that my trust was well placed. The investigator's name was Sarah Chen, a former detective with an impressive track record. "I see these cases more often than you'd think," she told me during our first meeting. "Usually I'm hired after the wedding when it's too late. You're smart to check before." Her words offered no comfort, only confirmation that my instincts were right to be alarmed. The first report arrived within a week, and it shattered everything I thought I knew. Rachel wasn't who she claimed to be. Her charity work was actually court-mandated community service from 5 years ago. The marketing consultant career was a series of short-term jobs she'd been terminated from. Her expensive tastes were funded not by her own success, but by a pattern I was only now beginning to recognize. Sarah uncovered 3 previous relationships, each following an identical pattern. Rachel would meet successful men, move quickly toward commitment, push for financial entanglement, and then, this was the crucial part, disappear with whatever she'd managed to secure. But the revelation that truly devastated me came in the second report. Rachel was already married. Her husband, Marcus, lived in another state, and they ran this operation together. She found the targets, and he handled the legal complications and document forgery. I wasn't her fiancé. I was her mark. Our entire relationship was nothing more than an elaborate theft in progress. I sat in my condo with Sarah's report spread across my coffee table, feeling like the floor had dropped out from under me. 3 years of my life had been a performance, and I'd been the only one who didn't know I was in a show. Every laugh, every intimate moment, every whispered "I love you," all of it had been scripted for one purpose: to rob me blind. The anger came first, hot and overwhelming. I wanted to confront her, to throw the evidence in her face and watch her perfect facade crumble. But Sarah's advice echoed in my mind. Don't tip her off. If she knows you're aware, she'll disappear, and you'll never get justice. Justice. The word felt both necessary and insufficient for what I was feeling. I could have gone to the police immediately. Sarah offered to facilitate that to help me press charges. Rachel and Marcus had committed fraud, identity theft, possibly bigamy. They deserved to face legal consequences. But as I sat there, a different plan began forming in my mind. One that wouldn't just stop them, but would turn their scheme completely against them. Rachel had demanded I put everything in her name before the wedding. She wanted the $50,000 we'd saved for the wedding, mostly my money, to be transferred to a joint account she controlled. She wanted legal access to everything I owned. Fine. I would give her exactly what she wanted, but not in the way she expected. I called Sarah. I need you to document everything that happens over the next 2 weeks, photos, videos, witnesses, whatever it takes to prove what I'm about to do. There was a pause, then a hint of amusement in her voice. What exactly are you planning? I smiled for the first time in days, though there was no happiness in it. I'm going to give her the wedding of her dreams, just not the future she was planning for. The next morning, I woke Rachel with coffee and croissants from her favorite bakery. You're right, I told her. My acting skills surprisingly convincing. I was being paranoid. I trust you completely. Her eyes lit up with what I used to think was love but now recognized as simple greed. Oh, Michael, I knew you'd come around. Over the next few days, I played the part of the convinced, compliant fiancé. I scheduled an appointment with my lawyer, actually Sarah's lawyer contact, to begin the transfer process. I told Rachel it would take a week to process all the documents. Her impatience was barely concealed, but she maintained her loving act, probably afraid that pushing too hard would spook me again. Meanwhile, I was executing my actual plan. The $50,000 wedding fund sat in our joint planning account, the one concession I'd made months ago that I now deeply regretted. But it was perfect for what I needed to do. I started making withdrawals, small enough not to trigger immediate alarms, but large enough to move quickly. I paid vendors, all legitimate, all documented. The Belmont estate received full payment for the venue. The catering company got their deposit plus the final balance. The photographer, the florist, the band, the videographer, everyone got paid in full immediately. Rachel, focused on the bigger prize of my assets, barely paid attention to the wedding account she thought would be hers regardless. But I wasn't planning a wedding. I was planning something entirely different. Every vendor I contacted received the same modified instructions. There's been a change of plans. The venue wasn't for a wedding reception. It was for a massive charity event. The catering was for a fundraiser. The band was for a celebration. And every guest on our list was receiving a new invitation, one that Rachel would never see until it was too late. The invitations went out 5 days before the scheduled wedding date, but they didn't announce a marriage ceremony. Instead, they read, "Join Michael Harrison for a celebration of freedom and new beginnings. Come share in the joy of truth revealed and lessons learned. Black tie optional. Honesty mandatory." Rachel, of course, thought we were still preparing for our wedding. I'd kept her distracted with talk of last-minute details and the processing of the asset transfers. She spent her days shopping for accessories and confirming her honeymoon wardrobe, completely oblivious to what was actually being arranged. The night before the scheduled wedding, I told her I needed to stay at a hotel. Tradition, I said, not seeing each other before the ceremony. She thought it was romantic. In reality, I was making final preparations for what I was now calling the revelation party. Sarah had everything documented, my lawyer had all the evidence secured, and I had a speech prepared that would expose everything. The morning arrived, sunny and perfect. Rachel texted me love messages talking about how this was the beginning of our forever. Each message felt like a knife, not because I still loved her, but because of how completely I'd been fooled. But those feelings would have to wait. Today was about truth, and I intended to deliver it spectacularly. I arrived at the Belmont estate early. The space was magnificent, decorated not with the romantic wedding theme Rachel had chosen, but with elegant simplicity. Large screens were positioned around the room, ready to display the presentation I'd prepared. The guests began arriving, confused by the invitation but intrigued enough to attend. My parents were the only ones who knew the full truth, and they stood by me, proud and supportive despite their own heartbreak over the situation. Rachel arrived fashionably late, expecting to make a grand entrance as the bride. Instead, she walked into a room full of people in cocktail attire, not wedding formal. Her confusion was visible, morphing quickly into alarm when she saw me standing at the front of the room. Not in a tuxedo, but in a simple suit holding a microphone. "Thank you all for coming," I began, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. "You're probably wondering why you're here instead of at a wedding. Well, that's exactly what I want to explain." Rachel started moving toward me, her face a mixture of confusion and growing panic. Sarah, positioned near her, subtly blocked her path. "3 years ago, I met a woman I thought was the love of my life," I continued. "She was beautiful, charming, and seemed to love me deeply. We built what I believed was a genuine relationship. I proposed. We planned a future together. But 2 months ago, something happened that made me question everything." The room was silent, every eye on me. I nodded to the tech operator and the screens lit up. "This is Rachel Morrison, or at least that's the name she gave me. Her real name is Rachel Torres. And this," a photo appeared on screen, "is her actual husband, Marcus Torres." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Rachel's face went pale, then red. She tried to speak, but I raised my hand. "Please let me finish. You'll have your chance to respond." The next slides showed the pattern: her previous victims, the court documents from her community service, the marriage certificate to Marcus, the financial records showing her scheme. Every piece of evidence Sarah had gathered was presented clearly, professionally, and irrefutably. This woman intended to marry me, illegally since she's already married, to gain access to my assets, and I almost let it happen. Rachel found her voice, but not for the defense I expected. Instead, she pointed at the screens, her hand shaking with rage. "You illegally investigated me. You violated my privacy. That evidence was obtained without consent. It's not admissible." She turned to the crowd, switching tactics. "He's trying to destroy me because I wanted a real commitment. He's scared of marriage, so he's making up these lies. But I'd anticipated this. Actually, Rachel, or should I call you Rachel Torres, everything shown here was obtained legally, and it's already been shared with law enforcement. Detective Morrison, would you like to explain?" A man in the crowd stood up, showing his badge. He'd been there the whole time, invited as a guest, but actually present in his official capacity. "Ms. Torres, I'm with the fraud division," he said calmly. "We've been building a case based on your previous victims, Mr. Harrison's investigation actually helped us connect several complaints that we suspected were related. You're looking at multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and bigamy. Your husband Marcus was arrested this morning in Nevada. Rachel's face transformed through a series of emotions: shock, rage, calculation, and finally, something I hadn't expected: fear. Real, genuine fear. But then her expression changed again and she laughed, a bitter, harsh sound that filled the elegant room. "You're all fools," she said, her voice dropping the sweet tone I'd known for 3 years. "Michael, you think you've won? You've just made the biggest mistake of your life." She pulled out her phone, and for a moment I felt genuine uncertainty. What did she have that I didn't know about? She held it up, showing a video. "2 months ago, when you first started acting suspicious, I took out an insurance policy. On the screen was footage of me, apparently signing documents. These are property transfer papers with your signature. Marcus made sure they're completely legal. While you've been playing detective, I've been planning ahead. Half of everything you own is already in my name. Legally, irreversibly." The room fell silent. Rachel's smile was triumphant, vindictive. Even Detective Morrison looked concerned. Had she really outmaneuvered me? Had my plan failed at the final moment? But then I started laughing, a genuine, relieved laugh that confused everyone, especially Rachel. "Rachel," I said, shaking my head. "That's exactly what I was counting on." Her smile faltered. "What are you talking about?" I nodded to my lawyer, who stepped forward with her own folder. "Show them." My lawyer, Patricia Chen, Sarah's sister coincidentally, began explaining. 3 weeks ago, Michael came to me with an interesting proposition. He wanted to create a legal trap. So we established a corporation, Harrison Holdings LLC, and transferred all of Michael's actual assets into it. His condo, his investment accounts, his stock options, everything valuable. She paused for effect. The documents that Rachel had Marcus forge signatures on, they transferred ownership of assets that no longer existed in Michael's personal name. You signed papers claiming ownership of an empty shell. Meanwhile, the real assets are protected in a corporate structure you have no legal claim to. Rachel's face went from triumphant to horrified in seconds. That's not possible. We verified the account numbers, we saw the property records." Patricia smiled. "You saw what we wanted you to see. Temporary transfers made 2 days before you checked, then moved again the same day. Everything you thought you were stealing was actually just bait in a trap." But I wasn't finished. "And this party, Rachel? This $50,000 celebration? Every penny came from that joint wedding account, the one you insisted we create. The account you thought was the least of your concerns because you were focused on the bigger prize. I've spent the entire wedding fund on this event, on exposing you to everyone who matters in my life, and on making sure you face justice. But here's the part you're really going to hate," I continued, my voice now cold and precise. "All of these people, our friends, our families, everyone you smiled at and charmed for 3 years, they're witnesses now. Witnesses to your confession, to your threats, to everything you've said today. And it's all being recorded legally, because you're at a private event where recording was disclosed in the invitation fine print." The aftermath was both satisfying and sobering. Rachel and Marcus were both arrested, facing charges in multiple states. The previous victims, emboldened by my case, came forward with additional evidence. The scheme they'd run for years was finally over. Justice, as imperfect as it is, was being served. But the legal victory was only part of the resolution. The real transformation was internal. I spent months in therapy, working through the betrayal, learning to trust my instincts again, understanding how I'd missed the warning signs. My therapist helped me see that being deceived didn't make me foolish, it made me human. Predators like Rachel are experts at manipulation. Their success relies on exploiting normal human desires for love and connection. The $50,000 I spent on the revelation party wasn't wasted. Beyond exposing Rachel, the event became something more meaningful. I donated half of the remaining wedding budget to organizations that help fraud victims. The other half funded a scholarship for students studying financial literacy and fraud prevention. My pain would hopefully prevent others from experiencing the same devastation. Slowly, I rebuilt my life. I dated carefully, taking my time, listening to my instincts. I reconnected with friends I'd neglected during my relationship with Rachel, realizing how isolated she'd subtly made me. I threw myself into my work and discovered passions I'd set aside. And eventually, I found genuine love, the real kind, built on honesty, respect, and trust that didn't require constant verification. The best revenge, they say, is living well. But I learned something deeper. The best recovery is becoming stronger, wiser, and more authentic than before. Rachel tried to take everything from me, but in the end, she gave me something unexpected: clarity about what truly matters and the courage to protect it. The wedding that never happened became the beginning of a better life, one built on truth instead of pretty lies. Years later, I can look back without anger. Rachel is serving her sentence, and I hope she finds genuine rehabilitation. Marcus, too. I hold no hatred for them anymore, just a calm recognition that they were lost people making terrible choices. My life moved on, richer for the lessons learned and grateful for the bullet dodged. Sometimes the best thing that can happen is for things to fall apart before you're permanently bound to something false. And that smile I gave Rachel when she demanded everything? It wasn't the smile of a victim preparing to be robbed. It was the smile of someone who finally saw the truth and decided to rewrite the ending. That smile was freedom recognizing itself, and it cost exactly $50,000 to make it real.
Keep watching our stories by clicking on one of the videos that appear on the screen, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to be alerted about new videos. See you next time.